Welcome to Foreseeable Future Foundation Speaker Series. Hello, my name is Mark Farrell. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great topic, a timely topic, making an impact in a community. Now more than ever, we all know and have experienced firsthandly how important it is to be involved in the community. We got two organizations that serve visually impaired persons through sport, but I feel that the concentric circles far expand past sport because when you positively impact someone's life, it impacts their confidence on and off the court, on and off the field, in the classroom, at home, in the friendship circles, in all aspects of life. And of course, the mission of Foreseeable Foundation is to enable the visually impaired to live fulfilling lives through sport and recreation. And I like to say education and employment as well, because all those things are so closely linked. We're going to hear from Ted Caputo. Ted Caputo sounds like he's a Hollywood producer with a name like that, but he is the director of New York Metro Blind Hockey Club. We're going to learn about how vision loss has impacted his family. We'll learn about how he was sort of thrust into launching this program, and the million-dollar question, how do players locate a puck that are blind or visually impaired? Our first guest is Wendy Fagan. Wendy's a tremendous person. She's the executive director and founder of Envision Blind Sports. She's also a passionate athlete. She loves to impact lives. She's a trailblazer, an athlete herself, and so many more things. Wendy Fagan, welcome to our series.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So I guess for you, Wendy, it's very simple. It all started because you come from a family who loves mobility. You never stayed still.
That's true. Our family is always on the move, whether it be sports or working on the farm or just all the vacations were always based around movement. So it's just been a way of life for us.
So your passion for sport began as an athlete. You realized a need when you started in Texas as your first teacher position allowed you to, and tell me about how you got your feet wet.
Well, eventually we ended up in Texas and I got involved with Texas Women's University, got my master's degree there in adaptive physical activity, and knew that I wanted to be in the adaptive physical education field. So when I went to college there, Dr. Claudine Sherrill said, hey, get as many experiences as you can. So I got, like you said, got my feet wet, tried every disability, tried every sport, and absolutely fell in love with blind sports.
Now, Vision Blind Sports is located in Pennsylvania. That's where you're a professor at Slippery Rock University. And of course, you teach an incredible course that you just mentioned. So this is your life. You're a mom, you're an athlete. This is all encompassing. This is not something that you dreamed about when you were younger, but this is a role that was just made for you. And this is a program, the camping program component started in 2004, correct?
Yes.
And every year, about 70 or 80 kids have the incredible experience of being part of this program. Tell us about this, please.
Camp is really the highlight of our year-round activities. That is when kids get to come to camp. It's an overnight sports camp. They stay in the dorms at Slippery Rock University. And while they're here, we call it the sports/eating camp, because literally we get them up, we eat breakfast, we do 3 hours of sports, we eat lunch, we do 3 to 4 hours of sports, we eat dinner, and we go back and do sports some more. We drag them back to the dorms around 8 or 9 o'clock. They pass out and we get up and we do it for 6 days in a row. And it's absolutely fantastic. Last year we had the athletes participated in 25 different sports.
So let me hit some of those. We need to highlight some of those, Wendy. Gymnastics, basketball, horseback riding, swimming, kayaking, bike riding, rock climbing, beep, baseball, downhill skiing, archery, longboarding, and more, but drum circle to complete everything.
That's right.
Phenomenal. What a great experience. I mean, we talked the other day, and some of us have gone to sleepaway camp, some of us have not, but I think when you have, even if it's not the greatest experience, because some people go away for the first time, there is an indelible experience kids walk away with. As an adult, I went to a camp for the blind and visually impaired, and I learned how to play a song. I'm not going to tell you what song it is because it's extremely elementary, but to this day, I just bought my daughter a guitar for her birthday last week. I taught her how to play that song. The experiences are just incredible, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. The kids, They look forward to it every year. It's really that we should be calling it the best week of the summer. They come and they get to reunite with all their friends that they usually only traditionally see. Some of them only get to see them once a year because they travel so far to come. And besides all the movement, besides that aspect of feeling more confident as an athlete, what it really does is makes them just feel more confident as a person, and they get to develop those friendships that will last for the rest of their life. And as soon as our kids graduate from the program, a lot of them come back and become counselors. So it is something that many of them have made a lifetime commitment to, as once they've graduated from camp, they still come back and give back to the program and become great role models for the new campers that come.
Absolutely. And school, as good as school environments can be, as we long for the traditional environment to come back, they can be isolating when you have a disability. So
especially with blindness and visual impairment, because it's a low incidence disability. I have heard in my lifetime a million times where the kids prior to coming to Envision feel like they're the only blind kid in the world, you know, and they'll tell you that, and that's the language that they use. And they come to camp and they realize that not only are there other kids that are blind and visually impaired, they may have the same condition they have, they may have the same life experiences they have, they understand the impact that it makes for them in school, the challenges they face, some of the frustrations they have, and it's very comforting for them to be here. And it's a lot of fun, and it's just a great way for them to connect to people that understand their life experience.
Absolutely, because you have to really underscore the fact that I went to a school, I never went or associated with anyone who was visually impaired. To go to a camp and to spend 7 days with people who have very, very similar experiences, to laugh about it and to learn. You learn about tips and trades and techniques, especially with technology nowadays. It's incredibly invaluable. And then on top of that, you have 25 sports that you're embarking on. How did this model come to me?
Oh my goodness. When you're dealing with a low incidence disability, you know that they're coming from a long distance. And so unlike traditional kids that go to soccer and may go to soccer camp in the summer and get those opportunities, our students were missing that. And the other reason that we really wanted to have an overnight camp is to give parents the opportunity that if they're going to drive 5 or 6 hours, they don't have to turn around and come back 8 hours later or do it for one day. So it allows them to give them the time to go and go back home, and the kids get that independence being here, so that we could service more kids for longer periods of time, because we have a lot of single day events, but the kids that get to attend them and the adults that get to attend them, it's limited by, are they close enough to get there in and out of a day? So camp opens that door, plus everything about camp is awesome. How many of you, like you said, have positive experiences looking back on what camp meant to you as a kid? So we want to make sure that opportunities for individuals that are, or for kids that are blind and visually impaired, that they don't miss out on that. And making sports, that's just icing on the cake. And it's not, there are other camps for kids that are out there, but there's very few that really focus just on getting sports.
Wendy, Fagan, when you were thinking about this model early on, what were the must-have sports that you wanted to include off the gate from the start?
Okay. Well, you have to have goal ball. You can't have a blind sports camp without goal ball.
And we'll talk about that, because you got,
that's been my love and passion for 30 years. So that was a must. But I'd have to tell you that every single year we push the envelope and keep trying to add a new sport and a new sport. So as far as I'm concerned, even though like my go-to sport is goal ball, I feel like they all have to be there. And every year I sit down and we try to figure out how can we mush one more sport in. And if we are going to, are we going to keep the other 24 or 25 that we have, or how are we going to make it work? Like we added trampoline park one year, and we high and ropes, low course, the high ropes and the low ropes course. And we're starting to develop a basketball division, which has been really exciting. So obviously the core of it for me started with goal ball, but it grew, and now I get excited. I think about all the sports that we do, and every year we try to think of what's something that we haven't done that we can add.
And not only that, but now students are coming in from 7 different states to Pennsylvania, Slippery Rock, where
Right.
Slippery Rock University serves as the hub and other parts of the surrounding areas, correct?
Correct. We travel almost every single day. We go to state parks. We go to, sometimes we go to ice rinks. Sometimes we go to deck hockey. Sometimes we go to actually we go to a safari, not to go to the safari, but that's where they have this really cool high ropes course. So we go there. We travel to a golf course so that we can go golfing. Open water. We do a lot of open water activities with paddleboarding, canoeing, kayaking, swimming. So yeah, we take a lot of day trips and then come back. And then we do a lot of our traditional sports right here on campus.
Do you see anxiety and a lack of confidence just dripping off people as the days go by and they just become this effervescent, more confident person right in front of your eyes?
They do transform pretty quickly. I would have to say that's true. And I think the best gift that we as counselors and people that run this camp get is when they go back to school and they learn some of the skills they have to perhaps teach a coach or a physical education teacher, or join a team that they might not have joined, or push the envelope with their social circle, or just feel like, hey, I should be able to do that. And they're willing to advocate for themselves to say, you know, we have kids that will have stories. I think of one in particular that spoke at our gala last year. She said, she came to us, she was an amazing athlete. So here I'm thinking, this kid's been an athlete for years. And then she proceeded to tell me, like, years and years after she'd been at camp, she's like, you know, Wendy, I never was an athlete at school until after I came to my first year of camp, because I didn't think I could do it at school. And she went home and she started doing sports at school. And so that's what we really want. We want them to transfer what they learn here and take it home so that they can be physically active 365 days a year.
And in essence, that's what's kind of happening to you as well. When you started out as a young athlete, you're working in Texas, and you actually were a coach for the Paralympics 96 Atlanta Games. Tell us about that.
It's been just a little while ago.
That's okay.
Yeah, that was a blast. I got a bronze medal. So, hey, we came home with a medal. That was exciting.
You got a bronze?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we had a great group of girls there that
Tell us about
year.
that experience and how that empowered you to continue on your path.
You know, I absolutely loved having that option to having that opportunity to coach internationally. As I told you on the phone, I'm a real strong family person. I had a very young family at the time, so I knew that this was a great thing, and it kind of pushed me to, how do I take this energy and love of this Paralympic sport and take it home to grassroots? And so when we eventually moved back to Pennsylvania, I knew that the transition would have to be made to make a local program, because it's a huge commitment at the international level. And I realized that I couldn't, you know, fulfill my mom duties and everything else I wanted to do and do that. So I was grateful for that time. And then it gave me the energy to start this program and really develop Envision Blind Sports.
Talking about how movement is so very, very important to you, and obviously how you translate that to kids, because I imagine not every kid who walks onto or into the campground is like, I'm totally stoked to do 25 different sports. So it must take some urging.
Well, we have a really matter-of-fact attitude at camp. So there's really nothing up for debate. This is your sport. This is when you're doing it. Have fun. Sometimes they try to negotiate with us. We don't negotiate at Envision. We want them to try every sport. The only sport we've ever had an athlete sit out of is a girl had a severe allergy to horses, and that's the only time we let someone actually not do a sport, and that was just for health reasons. So other than that, the kids do every sport. They love some. They might not love all of them, but if they don't try it, they'll never know. And sometimes it's just the opposite. They think, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play. And then they play it, and like, this is my favorite sport. So I think you have to kind of draw the line with them and say, this is what we're doing. Jump in there and try it. And it's fun to watch them go from being nervous to just full of smiles and excitement.
Now, Envision Blind Sports also offers clinics, correct?
Correct. We have clinics throughout the year. We have year-round programming now. That was one of the greatest things, that we transferred from just being a camp. Then we went from camp to camp and clinics. We had 2 clinics a year. And now we have activities probably 3 to 4 times a month, depending what month it is, a minimum of 2 times a month. I know in August, we'll be heading into our 4th event coming up on August 29th. We're going on an 8-mile kayaking trip. So it was really exciting to see the transition of being able to offer them things. We, you know, do a lot of snow skiing. We we just trying to make sure they have opportunities to be physically active year round, so that when they get into their adulthood, they know that they can keep going and keep being mobile.
And education is also a component?
Yes, my goodness. If I had all the money in the world, I think I would hire people that have this adaptive background to just go into every school, because every school we go in, they're sponges. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know blind people could do that. And I didn't know that if someone had a visual impairment, they could do that. And they're so open to it. The little kids, we did several or multiple, we call them disability sport days. And we go into the public schools or in private schools, any school that wants us. And we let the kids actually play the games. We put eye shades on them, and we let them experience goal ball and what would it be like to hit a ball when you're blind? What is it like? And then we also just educate them on understanding their peers that may not see the same way they do, and why they still can do everything and more. And it's amazing. And we constantly, we're trying to, there's just too many schools, and I don't think that, I hope that someday we'll have the resources to hit all these schools, just to get it out there, to just share with people that sport is for everyone, absolutely everyone. And this is how you can make sport accessible regardless of your disability.
And there's a great parallel here, Wendy, because not only are the kids, when they come to the camps, understanding what sport is and gaining confidence, et cetera, now with the education component, you're going into schools and giving able-bodied kids the experience of what it's like to have a disability.
Absolutely, to understand
That's
how
phenomenal.
it feels to get hit by a ball when you can't see.
Yeah. So do you have feedback from the students who are in attendance in the school who are blind or visually impaired, that students come up to them and say to them, I never experienced or never thought of X, Y, and Z?
Well, we try to go to, when it's possible, we try to go to our school where some of our athletes are, because it gives them a time to shine. And
Sure.
we help them, we allow them to be the demo or give the instruction. And I wish I could show you a picture of one of the last ones we did before COVID came. And you could just see if you can glow, this athlete was glowing as she's in front of hundreds of her peers in her high school, explaining to them blind sports. And they were just in awe of things that they just didn't know were possible. And she loved every minute of it. So it's great. And then a lot of those students will be like, well, I want to get involved. How can I get involved? So the more you educate and get people excited, it is so easy to get excited about blind sports. So it's that easy. Once you do it, there's no turning back.
Sports in general, as you will agree, Wendy, is phenomenal to watch. When you watch anyone with a disability, any of the Paralympic sports, any of the trial games, anything on a local grassroots level, it's contagious.
It's truth. So contagious. And all you have to do is get people in
years
at one
ago.
time.
Yeah, big time, big time. So obviously one of your biggest struggles is financing, which relates to staff. You have 3 part-time staff people.
Correct.
And that equates to all this work that you do. And you're a professor at Slippery Rock University, not much free time on your hands. How do you pull all this together?
Well, I do have 3 amazing employees that work what I would call a 25% job. They work more than they take credit for, but they all graduated. They all graduated from Slippery Rock University with their masters in adapted. I want to shout out Amanda Breed and Jillian Stringfellow and Ben Friday. Got to give them a little kudos. They work their butts off, and they just make it happen. They're the reason the program's been able to expand. But if I can find a way, like we're constantly looking for a way to get new financial support, because the more financial support, then we can expand. Because I truly believe that we can get the financial support to expand, then we can eventually work times getting a full-time position for for someone in the field to really continue to grow the program. Because let me tell you, we haven't even tipped the iceberg of athletes. Every single year I get athletes of all ages saying, I didn't even know. I didn't know. Like, I didn't even know I could do these things. So we have a long road in the land of blind sports when it comes to reaching our population. There are so many underserviced kids, and we just either need to continue to build up this program, as well as encourage people to build programs in other parts of the country, because there's just not enough of us.
And how do you reach out to these students currently?
Facebook, Instagram,
Also,
websites, people telling people, all the vision teachers we can find, word of mouth, and hopefully things like this, where we want to be able to reach everyone. We want to reach families, we want to reach volunteers, we want to reach sponsors.
and of course, you never turn a student away if they can't afford it. You'll find a way, Wendy Fagan, right?
I sure hope so. It's worked so far with a little divine intervention.
Well, and also thanks to great sponsors like Lions Club
Yes, the Lions have been
and
fantastic from day one. Yes, and the
Penn's
Penn's
also been-
Foundation,
Mhm.
and of course the Foreseeable Future Foundation.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of others that you could throw in there that just give willingly or give what they can, from people that give something as small as $5 till large groups that give much larger amounts, but every single dollar matters. And we really appreciate, some people give time. Like, we have a great relationship with the Grove City Country Club, and they give their time. They provide us golfers. They let us use their course for free. They help with our gala. So it's just a lot of organizations like that. I have some great board members that just give freely of their time to make sure that we can make what happen. We do what we can, and we constantly dream about what we can do next.
I'm sure you have campers that come through your incredible program, all three programs. And as you mentioned before, a volunteer. But give me a success story of someone who's really come through the ranks, had a great time, and has boldly been impacted by your program.
Oh, there are so many.
Take your
But
pick.
this is, can I do two or no? Okay, so one I can do is shout out to Michael Delahunty. Michael came to our camp when he was 5, and he was the first one to go from 5 to 18 as a camper. And he's a Pittsburgh kid. He goes to school now down there. Just a wonderful kid, wonderful family, and just to see the difference from when he was 5 till now. I believe he's either 19 or 20, and he comes back and he's an amazing counselor, and he understands how camp works because he's been in camp for, goodness gracious, how many years? That's like 13 years that he went to camp and never missed a year.
Wow.
And now he comes back as a counselor, and he's just one of many. Like, that's just one. I could probably talk for an hour about the kids that I would call success stories. And of course, we're incredibly proud of Callahan Young because he got selected for the 2020 Tokyo Games, and
Yes.
also was selected as the co-captain for the men's goalball team. So that's a really big deal. And he played on our goalball team that we had through, at the time it was called VIP Sports, before it was called Envision. And even though he's training in Indiana, he still comes back and helps with the program too. And we're really excited to hopefully get to go to Tokyo next year and watch him compete. But like I said, you better cut me off because literally I could name 100 athletes
We love
that
hearing
I'm
your
proud
stories
of.
like this. So funding, volunteerism, donations are all accepted.
Oh, please, yes. If you're listening and you have $5 you're willing to part with, or if you know someone that's willing to sponsor a program like this, please connect. You can go through our website. I'm sure that you can connect through this webcast. Yes. So however you want to do it, you can go to envisionblindsports.org. We have a Facebook post. If you're a Facebook page, we have an Instagram. I can't tell you enough. Your money will be well spent and will be used directly to increase opportunities for students in all three of our different areas: the camps, the clinics, education, and outdoor adventures.
And Wendy Fagan, lastly, how is the importance of sport in terms of the new world that we're living in terms of talking to your campers? You unfortunately weren't able to have camp this summer. So, 70 or 80 kids weren't served, but you're in touch with them in different capacities through the clinics, et cetera, and programs. How important is it for you to communicate the need to keep moving, to burn off anxiety, to just be who you are? Don't let the times define you.
Yeah, we were literally just talking about this. We had a short meeting right before this, and I can't stress enough that it's so difficult. And what happens is sometimes when the kids get stressed, then they're less apt to work out, and it's the time when they should be working out. So we're really trying. We worked really hard to get the 3 one-day events that we had because the kids were just desperate for physical activity. And we have another one coming up, and we're trying to do everything we can within the COVID guidelines so that we can still encourage them to come out and we're trying to come up with some creative ideas to send. They're actually going to get a little surprise in the mail that I don't want to tell them what it is, that they can take to school with them, that we bought for all of our campers that couldn't come. So we want to send it out in September so they realize, like, look, this is a little piece of Envision that you can use until you get to come back to camp next year. So I can't stress enough. I could tell my college kids all the time, there's 3 things in life you have to do: sleep, eat, and exercise.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, what about reading, Professor?
Well, you know, they always expect me to say study, and I never say study.
I wish I had you in college. Wendy Fagan, can you hang out with us for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ted Caputo is the director of New York Metro Blind Hockey Club, and he joins me right now. Ted, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, life has dramatically changed for you in a great way, but you never thought about being the coach of a blind hockey team years ago, have you?
Absolutely not. I've never played hockey. I can barely skate myself, but I'm making my way through.
Well, you know what? You got some grit in you because, and I have to thank you for your nearly 3 decades of service on the force as a detective sergeant. So you're a tough guy, you're compassionate, you have empathy, and you also, more importantly, have 2 sons with visual impairments.
Yes, I do. 2 boys, they're 12 and 17, and they have dislocated lenses. So without correction, they're legally blind.
And one of them, I believe the older one, is able to play in both leagues in hockey, able-bodied and visually impaired?
Yeah, so with correction, he could play mainstream hockey. It's a little bit difficult because it's a little bit harder to track the puck.
Hockey is terribly difficult for 20/20 sighted persons.
It's a very, very fast sport, right? And then when he takes his correction off, he's legally blind, so he could play the blind hockey.
So Ted, tell us this great story about your interest in getting involved with hockey. You called up this this gentleman who was probably, in your eyes, on his way to starting this league, and then what happened?
Right, so there was a gentleman upstate New York who was on a blind hockey team. They were kind of small, and his idea was that blind hockey is expanding. They're very big in Canada, and in the US, teams are forming, but he couldn't figure out why we didn't have one in the New York City metropolitan area. So he sent out an email to visually impaired people, I being one of them, and it said, you have any interest in playing blind hockey, give me an email back. And I had no idea what blind hockey was at the time, so I did some research. My boys were already interested in hockey, and we love volunteering. We volunteer for the Guide Dog Foundation. I'm a volunteer fireman, so I figured hockey, volunteering, everything fit. Unfortunately, his plan didn't actually come to fruition, so I contacted USA Hockey, and they said, you know what, just give it a shot. You do it yourself, which I kind of laughed because, like I said earlier, I could barely skate myself, so.
Are you a hockey fan at least?
Yes, we are hockey fans.
Okay, well that's all you need is the passion. I mean, your sons are your driving force.
Exactly.
What were your sons' experience prior to getting on the ice for the first time?
So they both played a little bit of deck hockey. Some states call it street hockey or sneaker hockey, where you just play on a concrete pad. And they were doing that, and then they went to the next step, which was ice hockey. So they already had a little bit of experience with ice hockey. And then when this came along, it just opened up a whole new world, especially for my oldest son, who's so passionate about blind hockey. He loves it. Like you said earlier, it's more than a physical activity. It's a social activity. It's a physical activity. It's just, it gets you connected with people in your community.
It's a release. It's a growing experience, maturity on and off the ice. It's so many different things. And I'm sure all our viewers think you are coming live from a huge arena right now. But I hate to burst their bubble. If you can spin your camera around, because we want to show them about your so-called ice rink in the basement of your home.
Okay, let me give it a shot here.
3, 2, 1, boom. Look at this, folks. This is love of his children. An indoor rink in the basement of Ted Caputo's house. We won't disclose her address. Somewhere in Long Island. Fantastic. That's great. That's a testament to, obviously, just doing whatever you can for your family and community, because, of course, that's what we're focusing on today, the community and the importance of it. And I imagine, where do you start as a hockey coach for persons who are blind and visually impaired? Obviously, you need a venue, you need money, you need capital. Oh, no, yeah. You need players. Where do you get your players?
Right. So when I started this venture, I actually thought that getting players was going to be the easy part, and doing all the background stuff was going to be hard. You know, getting the money and the supplies and the equipment and the rinks, and that's just, you know, thank God it's been coming to us. We have generous sponsors like Foreseeable Future, just like Wendy said, all the way from $5 to big sponsors. Hockey is a very expensive sport, so we are always constantly on the lookout for different sponsors and different avenues to go down with rinks. The challenge is getting players. One of the biggest challenges that I think is, you know, when you say you want to play hockey, people, especially blind people, are saying, how is that even possible? And that's why I usually try to give talks. Of course, big on social media. We're on all the platforms. We have a website with some instructional videos that kind of explains the game and what we're all about. I go to Lions clubs. I go to Helen Keller, you know, the Office for the Visually Impaired, and just try to get the word out. Unfortunately, some people just won't even show up to these meetings because they just don't think they could do it. So I think, like you guys spoke about earlier, I think you just have to get them down the first time, and then they might get hooked. And I realized going into this that, you know, the person that comes down to one of my events might not be the hockey player, but maybe he'll be the beep baseball player, or maybe he'll be the goalball player. But I think if people that are visually impaired just take the opportunity to come down to any one of our events, it's a big networking thing. And like I said, I'd hate to lose someone, but if they find something in their life that, you know, helps them physically or emotionally, and they want to go to baseball or goalball, that's fantastic to me.
Absolutely. Just the opportunity to ignite that spark.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just to get them going and see how far they can come.
So as a visually impaired coach myself, I don't have to coach on the ice. I do soccer, and I bring to my sport a bit of experience, but not having played yourself, but being a fan. And the biggest challenge is being on the ice with players who are blind and visually impaired with varying degrees of experience. How do you tackle that?
Exactly, yeah, because, you know, we've had as young as 11 and as old as 60 on the ice, and all different types of experience. You know, of course, the best player would be someone that used to play, you know, earlier in life, and then as they're growing older, they're losing their vision, and then they can't play mainstream anymore. So it's an easier transition for them because they kind of know the game, they know how to skate. The biggest challenge is the people with no experience, but we've overcome that by always surrounding ourselves with very good volunteers, very good coaches. You know, we try to have at least a one-on-one interaction with a new player. So they'll have an experienced hockey player guiding them along. Because one of the things that we've learned is for the people with very low vision, you can't just say to them, twist your hip like this. They don't know that. So we definitely need a volunteer, maybe actually holding their hip or holding their foot or following them along.
I believe you indicated before that someone who's very, very green to the sport and new to the team, you like to do a little bit of a one-on-one session for 2 or 3 times so you can really give them that time and experience that they need.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the best thing. We also have some of our players are taking private individual lessons with the generosity of sponsors. You know, to date, we have never asked a player for a penny. So everything has been covered, all the ice time, all the equipment. Sometimes they want their own skates, and that's a personal decision. They might buy their own skates, but even with we have travel assistance. We've taken trips before, and we've helped people with travel.
So let's talk about how players locate the puck. The puck is awful.
Right. So most of the game is very similar to traditional hockey. The biggest difference is the puck. So I will hold this up for the people that can view it. It is a traditional puck. It's pretty small. It's rubber. It's about 2.5, 3 inches across, and it makes no noise. It's silent, and it's black. The ice hockey puck is much bigger. It is about 6 inches across, and inside it's metal and it's filled with ball bearings. So for the limited sighted people, it's good because it's larger, so they get to see it. And for the people that are totally blind, they could hear the ball bearings making noise.
So when everything in a perfect skating moment, everything's fluid, people are moving, the puck is moving, but what happens when things come to a standstill? Not often in hockey do things come to a standstill, but therein lies the problem.
Exactly, yeah. So over the years, we've been working with engineers trying to get a puck that's audible, that's maybe a beeping puck, but in an ice rink, it's very difficult because the acoustics are very different. There's a moisture problem, there's a charging problem, and the pucks take a beating when they're being played. So,
Literally.
Literally. So we're working on that problem.
So players come in from, you're in Syosset, Long Island, players come from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and ideally you're trying to get 6 teams in 6 different countries, I should say, so you can go to the Paralympics, correct?
Yes, the goal of USA Hockey is to get this recognized by the Paralympics by 2026, and I think that we're well on the way there because USA Hockey and Canadian Blind Hockey are very strong and they're very aggressive. And every year we're having teams open up and we're having people from Europe come over to Canada and train with them and take that knowledge back with them.
Now, blind hockey, correct me if I'm wrong, did that originate in Canada?
It did, yes.
50 years ago or so?
It's probably almost 50 years at this point, yes.
And how much more advanced in terms of blind hockey are they programs there versus the United States?
They've come a long way, but USA is right behind them. We're really doing a good job. We before COVID, we would have a summer camp. There's a couple of tournaments per year that our players could go to where they will have all different skill levels, from the most advanced players to beginners. And there'll be different clinics. And it's a great way for people across the country to get together and just have a good time.
So did you have a program in Maine a couple of weeks ago?
We did. It was more like a field trip. We took some players with us up to Maine because they have a small team up in Maine, Go Maine Blind Bears. And one of the players up there is also a lobsterman. So what we did is we went on the ice with them for 2 hours. We did a little skate. We had dinner all together. And then the next day he took us out on his boat to enjoy a day out on the lobster boat.
Great. Did you bring a pound of butter with you?
He did send us with a to-go box.
Good. Excellent. Well taken care of. So what do your sons think of Coach Dad on the ice?
They get a lot of laughs out of me on the ice. Yeah, I try to avoid going on the ice. Like I say, I surround myself with professional people, people that are trained in hockey, people that are qualified, and they do a great job. I couldn't do it without our sponsors and our volunteers. I could not do it.
Now, I believe your one son, maybe your older one, I'm not sure, Ted, played with the Islanders, skated with the Islanders once?
Yeah, actually both my boys did. The Islanders were gracious enough prior to me starting this league. They had a day of skating with the team, and each person that got on the ice was paired up with one player, and the players were fantastic. They did a great job. That was back in, I think, 2017.
So as a father, as a coach, as a director of this incredibly invaluable hockey league, have you seen our confidence, the maturity level, and everything blossom?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I describe to a lot of people, there's a lot of joy that I get from this when I see a player show up for the first time and they're hugging that wall. They're trying to get around the rink. They could barely make one skate around. And then, after a few sessions with a one-on-one instruction, they're out there shooting the puck and, they're skating backwards, and it's very, very impressive.
So what is your biggest challenge right now, Ted?
The biggest challenge is recruitment, yeah. Trying to get people to believe that they could do it, to come out and do it. I mean, one of the things that we've learned from ice hockey is it's a tough sport to begin, whether you're sighted or not sighted. You have to combine the skill of skating with the skill of playing hockey. So we want everybody to know that, one, you won't be alone. There's a volunteer, there's coaches. You're out there with a bunch of other people that are just like you. It's very safe. We wear helmets, and there's plenty of direction. There's no pressure. There's no commitment. There's no pressure. Any age, any skill level, and any vision loss is welcome.
What's the median age of your team members?
I would say probably about 24.
That's great. And the youngest?
Yeah, 11.
11.
Yes. Yeah. So what we started doing Corona was we were actually getting a little bit too large. What happened was we were having kind of we were splitting the ice in half, and we would have a hockey side and like a child side, and we had kids as young as 5 coming out, and that got to be a little overwhelming. There was a lot of stuff going on, and at the point in time, I didn't have enough coaches and volunteers to handle that. So my goal, of course, it got distracted by this corona, is to make 2 divisions. I want to have a hockey division and a learn to skate division, because the young kids, 5 to let's say 12, I always call them our future stars. They're where our program is going to be. Those are the kids that are going to be playing in the Paralympics. That's the future of our sport.
Of course, you don't want to put them on a rink prematurely on skates with a stick and go search for that puck, because then you'll lose them. So that's a very smart idea to have the endeavor aspect of, learn how to skate and then transition them to the other league.
Yes, I mean, we've also been creative with off-ice activities where we would have just in your sneakers, you have a hockey stick, and what we do is we take a wiffle ball and we shove a jingle bell into it. So now you have a ball that makes noise, and then we have some that are painted white and green and neon for different floors, surfaces.
Sign me up for that, Ted.
That's more your speed?
Exactly. Well, hockey, I think I may have told you, I went to go see a game once, and it was 90 minutes or 2 hours of my life I lost. I'll never get that, because my brother-in-law was like, oh my God, yes, I didn't think about you not being able to see the puck, but how many pretzels can you eat in that much time? It's a very, very challenging sport. And hats off to you for, following your son's dreams and doing something that was completely and utterly foreign to you, and opening the gates, the floodgates for kids. And they come over from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and what other states? Connecticut too?
Yeah, I mean, we've had tournaments in Pittsburgh where we met other teams, Washington, D.C., and Maine and Connecticut. And once we called it the cross sound games, where we challenged the Connecticut team up in Bridgeport. So we all took the ferry over to Bridgeport. It was a short walk to an AHL stadium, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. We got to play a game on their ice. It was professional ice. And then we got to stay for their game afterwards. So it was a great, great day.
And Ted Caputo, what would you say to parents or caregivers of a child, a person with a disability, visually impaired or blind, to not enable them, to let them be free, to let them try something like blind hockey?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's somewhere that you could come and just be yourself. I know a lot of the younger kids, they always, feel, how are other people going to see me on the ice? If you go to a public skate session, people are not understanding what their challenges are and what they're going through. But when you come down to one of our practices, you're pretty much in the same situation as a lot of these people. It's different types of vision loss, but everybody has some sort of vision loss, and they're all in the same boat, and they're all trying to get it done.
Was hockey the first sport for both of your sons that really break out in?
It was. My older son, Timmy, he tried every sport you could imagine. Baseball, basketball. He would come home crying. He wouldn't like it. And finally, there came a day that me and my wife said, you know what? He's just not an athlete. We're just not going to put him in sports anymore. We're done. And then one day he came to us and he said, I want to try hockey. And we said, are you kidding me? One of the roughest sports out there. You're always the kid getting hit by the ball. But you know what? It's just something that clicked. And that's why I tell people, come out and try us. If you don't like it, try something else. There's no commitment. Just give it a try.
Ted, was his resilience to try sport after sport something that was innate, or something that you as a parent, you and your wife said, well, why don't you try X, Y, and Z, just to keep him moving forward and not falling flat on his face?
I think it was a little more of us, because we just always said to all of our kids, I mean, you have to get involved in something. It does not have to be sports. It could be music. It could be any type of a hobby, or whatever it is your passion, but you have to get involved in something outside of school, because I think that's so important, to be part of a team, to be part of a group, and to be passionate about something.
Well done, well done. So for anyone who's interested in volunteering or writing a check, all the above, please feel free to reach out to Metro Sports at nymBH.org. That's New York Metro Blind Hockey.org, nymBH.org. Ted, hang out for a few seconds. We're going to go to the chat button right here and see how many people have some questions for you folks. All right, first question here. is going to be for Ted. This is from someone who's not too far from you, Ted. Andrew in Queens. Did you always have a passion for hockey? We know that. Did you ever have an interest in your life to play hockey?
I wasn't much of a hockey person. I wasn't much of a sport person. I did, like theatrical stuff in school and woodworking, working on cars, stuff like that. Not really an athlete.
Amy, welcome back to the program. You may be muted, Amy.
No, Wendy, and
Oh,
yes,
Wendy, I'm so sorry.
that's okay. I
Right
thought
there.
I think he unmuted me.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Amy has a question for you, Wendy. Do your programs reach outside of Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. We will take anyone from anywhere, especially for the week-long camp. We've had a kid from Russia that came to camp for a year. We had kids that were coming this year from Alabama and Tennessee, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So it doesn't matter where you live. We had one from Illinois. Yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as they can get here, they can come.
Your tentacles are long and far reaching.
Yeah, they want the opportunity, we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Ted, back to you. George has a question. What are your challenges with organizing tournaments or getting participants? Well, we know the struggle for you getting players, but more importantly, organizing tournaments.
Okay, so USA Hockey takes care of the national tournaments. Usually they have an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony. They take care of that. What we do is we try to take care of more of the regional events. So we would have like a Northeast tournament where we would meet in, let's say, Pennsylvania and have local teams show up. So we would secure a rink, we would get some hours, and we would get the players there. One of the biggest challenges that I also found out, because I had young kids and I would drive them everywhere, is a lot of the visually impaired people that are living independently rely on mass transit. So we always have to make sure that our rinks are fairly close to mass transit. So usually like in Syosset, it's less than a mile away. They could either walk or usually we'll pick them up at the train station and drive them the mile. And
I believe you said that transportation is usually covered?
Most of the time we can help them out with, when we have national events, our sponsors help us out. So we'll give them like a stipend towards the travel.
Great. Wendy Fagan, have you found it challenging to have to cap the number of campers every summer?
We don't cap, we have never turned a camper away. So there are some other camps that do for different reasons, but we have such a good resource of volunteers and whatever it takes, we make it happen. We don't turn campers away.
Fantastic. Now this is a sleepaway camp. Does the sleepaway portion take part at the dorms at Slippery Rock University?
Yeah, we have absolutely beautiful dorms here. They love it here. So yeah, they think they're pretty, and they get to know the university. Matter of fact, at our last event, 3 kids that are now seniors in high school have all applied to Slippery Rock University and are waiting to hear if they get accepted here.
What a great entree to college.
Yeah, I hope they make it. We'd love to have them.
Yeah, you're embarking on something new, camp. And then here you go, you see this metropolis of a college campus. And of course, a professor / executive director, founder, cool person, athlete. And you're like, hey, you can come here.
Yeah, we've had several come through here already. So this will be the biggest group, but we've had several athletes that have come to campus and graduated.
Sidebar, quick story here. I was 6th or 7th grade when I mentioned when I went to sleepaway camp for the blind and visually impaired. Somebody had the bright idea, was not me. Let's do a raid of the cabin next door to us in the middle of the night. I said, sure, count me in. I don't know what time it was. Everyone was asleep. We all get up in line and we all hold on to each other. We grab pillows and we open the door and someone says, wait. And I said, yeah, we gotta wait. We gotta turn the lights on. People look at me like, what do you need the lights on for? And then mayhem ensued. Great memory. Monique has a question for Ted. Where do you see blind hockey going in the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh, forget about it. I mean, we are just quadrupling in size every year. So I think every major city will have a blind hockey team. We're going to be traveling across to Europe. We're going to have our players playing probably in UK, hopefully in Russia, and all sorts of different places, especially like we've been to Toronto before. They run a great tournament. That was one of my son's favorite tournaments.
Wendy, back to you. Wendy, question is asked. I am in Lower Delaware, Eastern Shore. I would like to get involved if possible. I am legally blind, but able to drive and work in IT as a senior manager. How can I help from this far? Oh, is she going to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd be glad to talk to him one-on-one and talk about what way he'd like to get involved. There's lots of different ways that he could help us out and even come and volunteer. So yeah, we'd love to speak with them.
Yes, whoever wrote that, you can reach out to them at envisionblindsports.org, envisionblindsports.org. And we have one more question. Jack has a question for Wendy. Besides the incredible camp you have for kids, what other type of activities do you have to offer for participants?
Okay, so we have a lot of outdoor adventure, what we call trips. This past summer, we've done kayaking, paddleboarding, whitewater tubing, golfing, high ropes courses. Coming up into the fall, we'll be doing deck hockey because of the Penn's got us a whole bunch of really cool deck hockey equipment. We're going to be doing a lot of sports that we can do outside, like five-a-side football, better known as blind soccer. And then once we get into winter, that's when we really shine, because that's when we do all the winter activities. We have a very active skiing program, tubing. We wanted to expand the snowshoeing, but last year the weather didn't cooperate. We actually did a little bit of cross-country skiing, ice fishing. So we do the activities all through the winter. And then we're back to, if there's a sport, we're doing it, and we're doing whatever sport makes sense for the season and whatever facility. We're finding with COVID to get really creative in outdoor venues. So traditionally in the fall, we might do, come October, November, if it gets a little cooler, we would traditionally do something inside, but my guess is we'll be doing several outdoor clinics.
Wendy Fagan, one more question. If you could snap your fingers, what would be the magic thing you would want? A endless surplus and capacity to serve every child that has a disability?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. That would be a great wish, yes, because I want to reach every kid that we can possibly reach so that they understand the passion and the power of sport.
Ted, do you feel the same?
Absolutely. Just outreach to the community, get them off the couch, get them active, expose them to all these great opportunities that there are out there.
Ted Caputo, Wendy Fagan, thank you so very much. I couldn't be happier that the two of your organizations were recipients for the Foreseeable Future Foundation's grants, and you're doing incredible work serving countless individuals that their lives are being touched in such positive ways that, you know, just unbelievable. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
And please, all viewers,
Really appreciate having us here today.
Feel free to reach out to these great individuals or organizations. They need volunteers. Money is great, but there's nothing like volunteerism. Giving your time and energy and passion is invaluable. Correct, guys?
That's right. Truth. It won't only change the program, but it will change them too.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win.
So there are 5 words that I always like to share with audiences when I speak about overcoming adversity. Having a visual impairment and having to do differently, things differently all my life is my difference makes me stronger. My difference makes me stronger. And I feel that everybody in life has a disability. It's what we do with it that defines us. If you want to play soccer, if you want to play goal ball, climb Mount Everest. I just interviewed a woman who was 64 years old the other day, legally blind, 64, she climbed Mount Everest. There's nothing you can't do. There's organizations, there's information. All you need to do is take the first step.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mark Farrell. Check out foreseeablefuturefoundation.org for more information. Follow us on all social media. Thanks to Griffin Pinkow and everyone on behalf of Foreseeable Future Foundation for what you do. And thank you everybody for watching. My name is Mark Farrell. Have a great day.